All right. Hello to my Integrated Math 3 classes. Today, to end the week, I'm going to be teaching you a new polynomial operation. I do plan on being back Monday. The tests that you took this week, I hope to have those graded as soon as possible and those scores back to you. And I'm sorry for the inconvenience of me being out this week. I did have surgery Monday, but I will be back hopefully at least at half force this Monday. Okay. So thank you all for working hard on those tests for those that did and those that were understanding with me being out. But today I'm bringing the lesson still to you, and we're going to start with something that you should remember from last year. What I have shown here are 3 questions that you should know how to solve. Okay, I've actually, last time I was sick and I was out on a Thursday, Friday, I left you some worksheets that were like this. So what I'd like to do is I'd like you to get out your notes, start a new page and title it Unit 2 Polynomial Operations. And then I would like you to copy these questions down, leave yourself some space, and let's start by you working these questions. Okay, almost consider this like a bell work. It's not going to count as a bell work just because I'm not there. But I would like you to attempt these questions, and we're going to work through them and make sure we understand how this should be worked. So we're going to pause the video. You're going to take about maybe 5 minutes or so to try to work these questions, and then I'm going to go through them and give you answers. Okay, so we'll pause the video now, and you get to work. Okay, so let's get right to it. This first question is addition, and the last time you had worksheets over addition and subtraction and then multiplication, some of you were trying to multiply these types of like questions like number 1 and 2. So there's still students that even from last year we saw it where you're having trouble distinguishing the difference between multiplication and addition subtraction. Okay, um, let's, for those that are still struggling with this, understand number 3 is multiplication. We don't see a symbol between the parentheses, and that means that we are multiplying. When we see a symbol, it tells us what to do. Okay, here I'm subtracting because there's a minus sign between these. Here I'm adding. Okay, when I am adding, like on number 1 and 2, you do something called combine like terms. Okay, so for instance, here I have an x. Where's the other like term to this x? Well, it's the one that has the same variable and power. Well, that would be this. Okay. Then I have this 10. What is its like term? The negative 70. Okay, that's it. Then the last one I have is this 9x squared. Does it have a like term? Looking around, no. There's no other x squared here. So we always start with the highest power for this. So if I'm looking at this 9x squared and I'm adding it to nothing. There's nothing here. Okay, so I'm just going to drop it down, 9x squared. Okay, then I'm going to go to my next highest power. Let's go to the 83x. I'm adding it to x. Well, 83x plus x is 84x. There we go. Next, we have our last one, negative 70 plus positive 10. So this is how you read this. Okay, that gives you, so negative 70 plus positive 10, well, that's negative 60. We're done. Did you get that one right? Awesome. Proud of you. Let's move on to the next one. And you'll notice that this is the same question, except I have changed this to a minus sign. The answer should be different. I can underline it with the same colors I just had. We know the like terms are the same because that's still going to be the case here. For adding and subtracting, you are combining the like terms. Now, there's a special step with subtracting, which is this. Now, you can do this multiple ways. How I like to teach it is to distribute this minus sign to both of these over here, so it rewrites itself. Um, we're still going to have this side staying the same right here. This is still the same. But now, let me cheat a little bit. This right here changes a little bit. This negative here that we had becomes a positive when I distribute it in. This x becomes a minus, and this positive 10 changes signs as well. And I like to even do this. I like to erase this and put the minus in here. And there's still like terms, however. So that's the extra step, and that step is sometimes can be a big roadblock for some students. But we now approach this the same way. We start with the highest power, 9x squared, added to, well, there's nothing else to add it to, so we get 9x squared, okay? Then we look at this one, 83x plus, this is a negative x now, so that actually makes this go down in value. We get plus 82x. Negative 70 plus negative 10, well, that's negative 80. We're done. Did you get that? Awesome. Okay. Lastly, oops, I actually got rid of this. Put that back. Here we have this. This is multiplication. So how do we do multiplication? Well, looking at the sheets that you guys turn in, you like to do it a lot of different ways. Okay. Whatever you are comfortable with, stay with it. I'm not trying to change this because you would have learned this last year. By now, my purpose is not necessarily to teach the multiplication. If I have to reteach it, I will. But I am going to allow you to do whatever you want as far as multiplying this. But I will be showing this using the box method. I left you instructions on this when I was sick last time. So the box method, we have to draw a box, okay? And you have to create a box that will meet these dimensions. Well, how many dimensions are there for this one? Well, we have 1, 2, 3 terms, so I know that I need 3 on one side, and then this one has 1, 2 terms, so I need 2 on another. So I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to go 1, cut it one more time. There we go. And then do it this way. All right, so there is my box. So now, okay, now I'm ready to set this up. I know that I'm going to put 9x squared plus 83x. I like to write the signs in here. Minus 70. All right, and then over here is going to be x plus 10. If you need calculator help, you can use it. I might need that here in a second. So here we're multiplying. Remember when you multiply, we have 9. When you multiply x's, x squared times x, this is a 1. You add the powers, this becomes x cubed, okay? X times 83x, that becomes 83x squared, okay? X times negative 70, well, that's negative 70x. Right here, 9x squared times positive 10, that's 90x squared. Then here we get 83x times 10, that's 830x. And then the last space, negative 70 times 10 is negative 700. All right, so the last thing we do is we add like terms. What you'll usually notice with these problems is that the like terms show up, oops, don't want that. They show up in the diagonals, okay? Oh my goodness, I'm messing that up. They show up in the diagonals. So, but we always start with you're adding like terms. Start with the highest power. Here's the highest power. You have 9x cubed. Then we're going to add these 83x squared and 90x squared. Well, if you need a calculator, you could have used it there, but that's going to be 173x squared. Then we add these 830x and negative 70x. That's going to be 760x. And then this last one doesn't have a like term, it just drops down. This is the correct answer right here. Okay. All right. Now, that is all review. Okay. All that I've done is review from last year. Everything you should know how to do already. All right. So now we're going to move into today's topic. All right. I'm going to go over here for this. We are going to be talking about polynomial. Oops. Polynomial division. So make a new section in your notes, and this is what we're talking about today. All right, I don't want to have to rewrite all that. let me just grab this. Okay. All right, so over here, we're going to reset this with this question. I'm going to drag this over, and you're going to rewrite this for me with a division symbol in between it. Okay. I'm going to erase all these. And here's our first question to start with. And how we're going to start this is we are going to label this entire thing as the dividend. So when I say the word dividend, you know that I'm talking about this. This one over here is the divisor. Okay? So as I'm writing out some instructions for you, we are going to keep those in mind. Okay? Let's go ahead and get started. We are going to divide this. All right? I'm actually going to type these out. I think that's better for you guys, easier for me. Well, still getting handy with this. Okay. All right. So the first step that we're going to do is we are going to rewrite the coefficients of the dividend in a straight line. Okay, so that's how we're going to start this. All right, that seems good. So go ahead and we are going to write 9. So here are our coefficients. We have 9, 83, and negative 70. Okay, so let's write those out. 9, 83, and negative 70. Okay. The next thing we're going to do, I'll just stack these. Number 2 is we are going to set up the synthetic division. Now I know this is a new word, this idea of synthetic division, but that's actually what we are doing right now. That's the process we're going to be using to perform this division. Okay, so for synthetic division, you have a couple things you need to do. One of them is going to be a straight line. Okay, and the other is going to be this sort of angled thing like this. Okay, all right. So this is setting up the synthetic division. All right. We're just going to call this our box. Okay. Also, you need to add this to yours. Okay. So this is the proper setup. It will always look like this. Any question we do, this is what it's going to look like. Okay. The setup for it. Next, in this little box, we're going to place a number. Okay. So we're going to write down how to figure out what number goes in there. All right. We're going to say the 0 of the divisor goes in the small box. All right, so how do we find the 0? Here we go. Here's the divisor. What's the 0 of this? Does anybody know? Well, if you said x equals negative 10, you're correct. Okay, that's what's going to go right here. Okay, essentially it is the opposite of what you're dividing by. Okay, there's our divisor. Perfect. That's there. Now we're actually set up properly to actually perform this division. Okay, so now we're going to start it. So we're going to put this performing the division. And we're going to say step 1. drop down the first coefficient, okay, which is this 9. So it gets dropped down, okay? So the 9 goes here. Okay, now we're going to add to this. So 2 multiply what is below the line by the box. Place it under the next coefficient. Okay, so multiply what is below the line by the box. What do we have below the line? Well, we put a 9 here. 9 times negative 10. What is that? Well, that's negative 90. Okay. Why did I put it here? Well, it says place it under the next coefficient. The next coefficient was 83. Okay. So then the next thing we do is we are going to repeat until there are no more coefficients. There we go. So we repeat this process. Now, what we see is that I'm not going to drop down this 83 right here and this 90. I'm actually need to add one more step before this. I'm sorry about that. Let's make this a 4. The third step is to add the product and the next coefficient. Add the product and the next coefficient. Result goes below the line. My apologies. Okay. So add the product and the next coefficient. So we're actually going to add these. So what do I get when I add 83 and negative 90? Well, I get negative 7. I do apologize. I got a little ahead of myself there on that one. But that is the next step. Okay. And so now we go to my fourth step that I put in here, which is we're going to repeat until there are no more coefficients. So we have our number down here. We're going to go back to step 2. All right. And I can even write that. Repeat step 2. Or repeat at step 2 until there are no more coefficients. Okay. So step 2 says multiply what is below the line by the box, place it in the next coefficient. So negative 7 times negative 10. Well, what is that? That is positive 70. Okay. Then we go to 3. Add the product and the next coefficient. So right here, we go down and we get 0. Okay. All right. And in this right here, these directions, until there are no more coefficients. So we have exhausted all our coefficients. So we are done. We're going to write this as well. Just an extra note. The last value under the line is the remainder. If you remember from when you did division of numbers, like for instance, if I did, let's say 3 divides into 10, well, if I put a 3 here, I get 9, and when we subtract, we got 1, and this would be my remainder. This is the same idea, okay? This idea of a remainder, this is where it is. So we're actually going to highlight that. On your sheet, I would like you to write that. This is the remainder. Okay, that is our remainder. And we're done with the division. Like, it's over, and we have our answer, sort of. Okay, So how do we write our answer for this? Let's add another note. I'm actually going to show it first. So we start at this first term. This is a -7. This term does not get a variable. This is our constant, okay? And we're going to write that. This is the constant. No matter what, if I'm dividing any size polynomial, this first number right after the remainder going from right to left, this is our constant. And then as I go from there, I'm going to add x, and then I keep going with higher powers. So let's say if there was an 8 here, it'd be x squared. If there was a 7 here, it'd be x cubed, so on and so forth. But I'm going to stop here because now I have my answer. The actual answer is this, and I would actually write it down here as such. I'd put 9x minus 7. This is the answer to our division question, okay? And if I erase this and I put my answer, we would say 9x minus 7. And I'm done, okay? That's how you divide. Now, let's look at another example. You're going to get some extra practice on this here in a few. Let me go over to a blank area here. What in the world? Okay. Let me just go up here. Okay. So I have this example right here that we're going to look at. All right, there it is. So we're going to be doing this one. So if you would, go ahead and write this in your notes. This is our example 2, if you want. And so we're going to go through the steps again. So the first step is to line up these coefficients. So 7, -59, and 22. Then we set up our synthetic division. We draw this little square here, draw a line straight across, put this little tick. This is where the remainder is going to go. What's going to go in this box? What goes in the box? Well, step 3 is saying you're going to use the 0 of this. Well, what is the 0 of this? Well, it's the opposite one of 8. X equals 8. That's what's going to go here. Okay? So write that in. Next thing we do is we start the process of division. We're set up. Now we're ready. So we're going to drop this coefficient below the line, 7. Then we multiply them. What is 8 times 7? Well, that's 56. You add these here. The product is this 56. Add it with the next coefficient. When you add them, you get -3. You repeat it. -3 gets multiplied by 8. -3 times 8. What is that? Well, that's -24. When we add these, you get -2. Okay, we're done because there's no more coefficients. But now we have a unique issue that we didn't see last time. Now we have this remainder of -2. So we'll talk about how to deal with that in a second. But let's just practice one more time. How do I set this up? Well, we start here. We said this is the constant, so it's not going to have a variable. Then I go to the next one, and it should have a variable. And it does. All right. And so this is my answer as far as I know. 7x minus 3. But how do I deal with this -2? All right. Well, what you're going to do with this -2 is you're going to create whatever sign it is you can keep. We're going to say, so since it's negative, we're going to be subtracting this from it. We have to write it a special way. We are going to write it as a fraction. Here's the 2 on top. And it is over what we're dividing by, this x minus 8. Okay? And if I go back to where I copied this from, you'll notice that that is the correct answer. Okay? We're going to try another one. But let's try a very large question. And we'll do one with remainder. This one right here seems suitable for us. So we're going to copy this one in to our notes. Okay? All right, and I'll give you time to write this. We can pause it and you can write it if you need to. So let's paste it here. Make that larger. All right, if you want to pause it and get it copied down, you can, and then we're going to get started on it. And this is example 3. Okay, here we go. So let's line up all the coefficients. This is our dividend. This is our divisor. We need to line up those terms, the divisor, or excuse me, the dividend. So we line them up, 10, 97, 62, -4. Remember to keep the signs. 41, -46. Draw the line. Put the little mark there and draw the box. There we go. What goes in the box? Well, it's the 0 of this, which is, we just flip the sign, it's -9. And we put that up here. And now we're ready to start the synthetic division. Okay? Every time you start with this first number, this 10, drop it down. Okay? It gets multiplied by the -9. And so we get, what is 10 times -9 is -90. Add these together, you get 7. Repeat. And now we have a lot more numbers to deal with just because this is a quintic. It's a 5th degree polynomial. There's so many terms. But we just got to keep doing this process till we're finished. So 7 times -9, that's -63. Add them. Well, that's nice. It goes to lower numbers here. So -1 times -9 is 9. Add those together, you get 5. Times -9, that's -45. Add those together, get -4. -4 times -9 is positive 36. When we add those, you get -10. Our process is complete. We're ready to get our answer, but this is really going to test how well you understand what I'm talking about with starting here with -4 as the constant, okay? And then we go to 5 and we put an x. Now remember what I said, as you go to each one of these, the power increases, okay? So the next one will be x squared. The next one will be x cubed. And the next one will be x to the 4th, okay? And this should make sense as an answer. Let's write it out. We have 10x to the 4th. You have plus 7x cubed minus, you can put the 1 or you don't have to, but 1x squared plus 5x minus 4. We'll get to the remainder in a minute. But if you look at this answer, it should make sense. I'm dividing away a power. The highest power was 5, but I divided away n from each one of these essentially. And that's why I probably should have put n. If you put x, it's fine. I'm going to change this just because it fits the problem better to put in. But if you put x on any of these, I will count it for sure. But these are n's. And you're taking away essentially an n, which is in this divisor, from each one of these n's in the dividend. And you'll notice that it loses a power. Okay, that's what happens. We've divided it out. And we got this expression here. So that's just some concept to think about as you are doing these. So the next thing that we need to do is deal with this remainder because we have one. And if it's a 0, that means you don't have one, you don't have to worry about it. But at this time we have one. So we put its symbol, which is a minus. We make a fraction, and we put a 10 on top, which is our remainder, over the divisor, which is the n plus 9. Okay, so that's my lesson over polynomial division and how to do it. You are going to need to practice this a little bit to get used to it. But hopefully this was a good way to introduce it based, just for what I can do from home. And you're able to learn it, but we're going to practice it. We have a worksheet that we're going to do with 12 questions. Once you get the method down, it goes pretty quick, okay? So make sure that you are working hard. This will be another grade that goes in the grade book for you. You have the answers actually on the back of it, all right? So make sure that you, as you work each question, check them, and you'll know if you did it right or wrong, okay? I have to see this work to give you your credit. Okay? Don't just copy down what's on the back. I need to see this. Okay? I need to see the synthetic division happening. Show me that you know how to do it. Okay? I don't care about the answer. I want to see your work. All right? Good luck. And if you have any questions on Monday about it, please feel free to ask.